Continued modernization of training and fighting techniques forms part of the cornerstones in the Zambia Army's core mandate to preserve national peace and security. Command remains committed to its vision of transforming the Army's operations, keeping in line with modern security trends without neglecting the welfare of officers and soldiers. Throughout history, the contribution of female officers and soldiers cannot be overemphasized. It is no surprise that many women in the service have continued to rise on the decision-making ladder of the Army.
I am pleased to note that since the first female officer joined the Army in 1972, and the first intake of women was attested in 1974, the Zambia Army has made considerable strides in its efforts to encourage women to serve in the Army and in promoting gender parity at all levels of command. I am especially proud to note that the Army's commitment to supporting women's deployment on local and international operation has been crowned by Zambia 2 in the Central African Republic, essentially creating MONUSCO's first female engagement team, which has been recognized and praised internationally.
Their contribution to the Zambia Army is not a secret. It's quite enormous, and the Buffalo's Eye has closely been monitoring. Command also seeks to recognize the massive contributions women in uniform have made to the Army.
As Command, we remain resolute in our support to women in the Army and salute their contribution and achievements.
Brigadier General Gladys Chifwelu, who served in the service for 30 years, is among the many officers that the Zambia Army has recognized today for her selfless service to Mother Zambia.
There are young girls out there, there are a lot that would say things like, I admire you in uniform, can I also become a general? And I always tell them, you can become what you want. The beginning is self-discipline. And self-discipline is not only in the military, it is in all spheres of life. So if you aspire to come to the military, you should be disciplined enough such that you meet the requirements to become a military officer. I would not say it is very easy to become an officer, but it's doable. It's manageable. The training is tough, but you can manage it. So those who would aspire to become military personnel, I would encourage them to be serious in school, because nowadays it's very competitive to come to the military. We are also looking at those that have done very well academically, because just wearing the uniform is not the beginning and the end of being a military person. It opens you up. You start thinking broader.
Colonel Priscilla Katoba is another of those recognized women in uniform. Aside being an author of a book titled Be the Woman That Men Crave For, Colonel Katoba of Intake 20 of 1998 is being celebrated for having successfully led the Green Buffaloes Women's Football Club as champions of the local league on an unbeaten run record in 2021.
The female numbers to certain appointments were minimal or more or less like restricted, so to say. If you talk of the staff college training, before then, I think you could find only one lady officer could go and train at the staff college there in Kamwala. And I took that courage one time. We were being addressed by the Army commander, by then General Miova. We had an officers meeting with him, and I had to, not to challenge the Army commander, but to ask the Army commander to say, look, sir, if in my intake we are 20 of us, the ladies, and the staff college every year picks only one lady officer against so many male officers, don't you think that by the time the 20 of us will go to staff college, some of us could have retired? And of course the army commander looked at me. It was in a meeting. He looked at me and said, "So what are you talking about, Major?" By that time I was a major. I said, "Sir, because it is disadvantaging us. We did the same training with the males, so why shouldn't we be given the chance, even at staff college, to train as such?" Because the other courses, like you talk of platoon commanders course, junior commanders course that are done in Kohima, it was more or less like an equal number. You could go maybe at least those sizable numbers. But what was the difference with the staff college? And you know, that is the highest course that any military officer does. So we were disadvantaged as ladies. And it was from that question that the army commander authorized the 6 of us at that particular time in 2015 to go and do the staff college course. Okay, and it was the start of things that every year from 2015 it opened the doors for other ladies that at least a number 6 and above could go and do the training, with which at least now it has moved. And it was from there, of course ladies used to hold appointments, but I'm pleased to inform you that I think I was the first lady officer to be appointed as a Deputy Director General, and by that time I was in the Corps of Finance. So I became the Deputy Director General of Finance. Of course, we are the 2 of us with the Kenny Osinka manning 2 different departments. Thereafter, I think that was then after I was elected at FAS, I was moved to Sports Branch, where I am the Deputy Director General again. Because I don't think it was it's written somewhere that it's only the males that are supposed to be army commanders or to be whichever appointment. Anyone can easily do that. Any lady officer can easily take up such an appointment. That's why when you see me putting on this, where I am here, I'm a general grade officer, putting a different barret from what I used to put on when I was Lieutenant Colonel downwards. This one encompasses that I can be able to handle any office.
Beyond borders, the Zambia Army has actively participated in the United Nations UN activities. UN is an international organization whose primary objective remains that of maintaining peace and security, cooperation and maintaining friendly relations among the nations. And having vast experience in the UN operations has earned Kenoketi Chikwekwe a job at the world's top organizations, while Colonel Gertrude Mbewe was awarded Best Desk Officer during her UN missions in Sudan, where she served from 2009 to 2011. Both Colonel Chikwekwe and Colonel Mbewe, like many other female officers of their intake, have shown consistent academic excellence throughout their careers.
Currently, I'm based at United Nations headquarters as a peacekeeping affairs officer in the Office of Military Affairs under the Department of Peace Operations. This is a rare privilege to recognize women, and we cannot take it for granted. We want to look forward to even doing more so that we do not disappoint Command, which is recognizing our efforts. So even as led officers and soldiers, I think we are going to do more. We really thank Command for what they are doing, and we appreciate the highest office, because definitely there must be goodwill from the top office, even for Command to take it up to where we are today ourselves. And also want to say thank you to His Excellency, the Republican President and Commander-in-Chief of our Defense Force, His Excellency Mr. Hichilema, for having given us this opportunity for the women, not just in uniform, but also our civilian counterparts. I think we have a lot of senior ladies heading various institutions in our country.
My military duty comes first. Of course, my family is very important, but my primary role is to attend to that, to a military duty, and then once I'm home, I take off my uniform. When I'm home, I'm a mother and I'm a wife. I cook, I kneel before my husband. I do all that which is expected of a woman to do. They are somehow being suppressed by being deployed just in administrative roles. When we have some that can be able to undertake combat roles, because at military training, be it at initial military training, even these other courses, the subsequent courses that we do from junior commandant staff course, staff college, we've seen lady officers that have excelled above their male folks in understanding the concepts in deployment of maybe a given strength of the combatants and the like. So it means that, to me, that implies that if I can understand those concepts, it means that I can apply them. But I'm not given that opportunity because by virtue of being a woman, that no, this is a woman, we can't deploy them in the combat roles and the like. I feel that in the near future, we should be seeing even lady officers be taking up command appointments like battalion commanders. Because at the moment, we don't have female battalion commanders. Since inception of the Zambia Army, we've always been commanded by a male officer. We want to see a situation where, with all this lifting of the ban on deployment of women in combat roles, in command roles, we want to see women taking up positions, taking up appointments like battalion commander, brigade commander, and other formation commanders. We want to see women in those roles as well. Above all, we also want to see a situation where one day the Zambia Army is going to be commanded by a lady officer.
She shares her experience on how she protected her team from the live bullets that would have landed on them while on an operation in Angola.
And we could even now vividly see that influx of the civilians or the refugees who had gathered there. So I was very alert because we were moving through a jungle. I was very alert while others concentrated on chatting and the like. Then I was super alert, and I don't know what made me to be super alert at that point. So as we moved, approaching in the dead ground, as we were about to more or less start going up while we were within the dead ground, I was quick to notice that amongst the civilians who had gathered on that higher ground, I saw some funny movements, quick movements here and there, and I saw a weapon, but I couldn't easily figure out at whether that was a weapon. This person was those people who were moving about had weapons. So I didn't actually tell anybody. So I just kept observing, and having learned certain skills within the military, those skills are called fieldcraft. Because when you are moving in the jungle as a military person, you are supposed to be very alert. So those concepts are taught to both male and female folks. Remember, I told you that when we undergo this training, there's no segregation, no different syllabus whatsoever. Whatever we were learning, it was a syllabus which was the concepts which were imparted to both male and female folks. So at that point, I saw one of those who were moving about with weapons. Somebody had a red band tied around his head. I think it was, I could vividly see then it was a bit loose, and I could visibly see them, and then I said, those are armed. Then within that, I think a few minutes after that, while we moved, and I kept observing while others, the commanding officer was busy chatting up others. Now what happened was, they started cocking the weapons, okay? I saw that cocking movement, okay, because they were standing in the group of these civilians. He cocked the weapons, and many others cocking the weapons. And I saw that that was cocking the weapons. I shouted and told the commanding officer. I was a second lieutenant at that time, okay? In the military, orders and instructions are passed from a superior to a junior. But at that point, with what I observed, I knew that our lives were endangered. I knew the power of a weapon if they opened fire at us. So I could not wait to tell the commanding officer to say, this is what I'm observing, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't get to that point. So I just ordered a lieutenant colonel, ordered everybody else, and I was the junior most as a lady officer, the only lady officer. So I ordered the commanding officer and the rest, dash down, okay? They are cocking their weapons. Then everybody took cover. When we took cover, it was in the grass. Remember, we were using a truck. We took cover, just cover from view, so that we could be in a red position to fire back in an event that they opened fire. So what happened was, at that point when we dashed down, the commanding officer then said, and I quote, if they open fire at us, we are all going to turn into mincemeat. I told myself, I think I have to kill one of two before I am killed.
Command is not just recognizing the efforts of officers currently serving, but those that have retired too. Among them, Major Sarah Chokole, who was elevated from non-commissioned to commissioned officer due to her professionalism and dedication to duty. She recalls how she escaped an ambush in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, where she was on a peace mission in 2004.
We moved 6 kilometers. We found the Maimai. We passed through the Kama village. That was by the roadside. Next was the mountain. I said, look, those are my soldiers who are flagging us. And they want something. One, we don't have an interpreter. Two, we don't have money on us. If we had money, we were going to give them, and they were going to let us go. So what do we do? Let's accelerate. So that's how we increased the speed of the vehicle. And then started. They also turned their weapons towards where we were going. They started shooting. We could see bullets flying from the rear windscreen to the front windscreen, and then falling ahead of us. We continued, but I don't know how this other bullet caught up with my colleague who was driving. And then from there, I just saw, because where we were coming, there was light, and where we had reached, it was a mountainous place. There was a mountain, and then where we were, it was just a small place, small space to accommodate the wheels of the vehicle. And then this side, it was slopey. This side, there was a mountain. So we moved. So when they shot at him and come on the other side. So when it came out from where I was seated, that's how the head fell this side, and then the vehicle slowed down and entered into the bush where it was slopey. And then I looked at him. He was dead. His brain mixed with the blood splashed on my combat, a lot of it. And then the vehicle started moving. I looked in front. I said, Lord, you carry me through. It went. It's in Congo where you have heard to say there's a thick forest. It went in the first tree, it hammered. There it started moving sideways to the left, sideways to the left. And then it gained momentum and started going forward. Forward again, it hit into another tree. Again, it started moving sideways, that tree. That's how I removed the seat belt and ran. I said, God, go before me.
She explains how she struggled in the bush, seeking help from any supposedly nearby Good Samaritan.
So it was a thick forest, grass, thorn. I ran within there, I ran within there until I found a field. When I found that field, I looked, I said, this is a village that we passed through. I crossed to enter and hide in the village. I found people have already gone, they've deserted, locked that place, there are only chickens. I went back in the bush, in that field, and lay on my back. I said, Lord, send me angels to come and pick me from here. So, from there, I stood up. I tried to check around, there was no human being. And when the vehicle was turning to go in the bush, those my minds ran away thinking we were going to attack them. So me, I lay there. And in no time, I had the radio in their hands. I could not talk, thinking they would follow me, they would hear me. I just withheld the radio. And then somehow, that man, when he shed the gunshots, he came back to check. That's when, there now, I'm jumping how it was. That's how they came, and then to start to look for me. I'm told when he came, he just called on the radio to say, Bukavu, Bukavu. Kalehe team has been attacked. One Ghanaian shot dead, one Zambian red abducted with injuries. Please come and evacuate. So just there where the accident happened, it was just like from here to Officers' Mess, a short distance, Lake Tanganyika starts. It was well planned that when that vehicle falls, it should fall in the Lake Tanganyika. But just a small space of land preserved my life. So I lay there, waiting for the unknown. I started now planning. I removed the combat or do what. In no time, I saw a helicopter, a UN helicopter, passing very close to where I was. I tried to raise a helmet, steel helmet, my blue steel helmet, they could not see it. I don't know, because what it is even if they saw it, in the system they think these are rebels. Maybe they abducted that person and got the uniforms and put them on, and then start pretending as if it's our own. So they bypassed, went to that place where there was a vehicle and where the body was left. So I said, I'm going. I started running in the same bush, in the same direction.
She and retired Majors Betty Mwewa and Maureen Imanga, also from Intake 2 of 1997 on non-commissioned officers, were promoted to commissioned ones. They were among the longest-serving officers with 37 years of service each. Having joined in an era where women were not allowed near the combat zone, they were among the few of their intake that served under the UN organization in the DRC monarch as military observers.
It's so scary for me, working with the senior officers. Because I moved from G branch to the most senior office in the army. So that office, the office for the chief of staff, there were a lot of people coming to that office. So for me, it was an experience, meeting the different people from civil world.
We want more women in key positions. The job of a soldier in barracks is not only putting on uniform. There are a lot of things to be done, and they should not only stop at one level. They should attend more courses so that they can be appointed at various levels.
Having joined the Army in 1974 as a member of the Pioneer of Women Officers, Intake 1 of 1974, Captain Grace Walusiku was best cadet officer in operating a machine gun.
The first provost officer, female officer. And we worked from that little hut there. That was our office. And we went back to do platoon commander's course. I was the first one. I became number 1. And there was Keno Matimba then, who also had excelled in his platoon commander's course. Then when we came back, we were both provosts. So we used to lament each time we'd walk to the gate there, which was very strict. We never allowed anybody to walk through without identification. Then we could, we could say, look, my nickname is Lulu. My friends call me Lulu. Lulu, all this military knowledge, we just come and waste it at the gate. So would express frustration and so on, and then would go out, hanging around to look for military drivers that could have run out of fuel. It was an offense. You can't drive a vehicle without and run out of fuel. It was a chargeable offense. Or going to certain areas that were not designated, so do patrols and so on. The police job, basically. I didn't like it much, so I changed to finance. And finance headquarters was at where National Service Headquarters is now.
After serving in the Zambia Army for 23 years, Warrant Officer Class 1 Mary Mulenga prides over the support and experience she has received from the Army. She is the only lady in the entire Zambia Army who has been able to rise to the challenge of servicing heavy military equipment. She is currently the foreman of heavy equipment repair at 1 Engineer Regiment.
I found the colonel. He was very happy but very surprised to see a small-bodied human being like Mary doing such a huge, task. Then he said, "Are you Mary?" I said, "Oh yes, sir, it's me." "As small as you are, working on these big machines?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Okay then, for today I will excuse you, go back. Then next week we will send money for you to come." I said, "Okay, fine." The next week came. I came back. I did the assessments over the machines. There were 10 in total number. They were down for almost 11 years. I said, "Okay, sir, we'll start first with 1." We started the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. By the time we are finishing the 5th one, it was almost a month. In a month, we did 5 machines, and they were back on the road. I tell you, command was happy. Even when they did not know me, they were just getting information from my commander at that time, the Colonel Chipopola. They were so happy with me, and that time we had, it should have been in the command era of Brigadier General Sengule, I suppose. That was the time. So he demanded to come and visit Mufrila on tour, say the Copper Belt. So he came to the engineers and he found me building the V8 engine for the dozer. So he said, this thing, can it be started on the ground? I said, "Sir, it can." "Okay, start it, I see." He was with his entourage, So I said, "Okay, fine, we can start it." I started the machine. The generals could not believe themselves with what they were seeing on the ground. "So you as soon as you are, you can do this miracle." I said, "It's not a miracle, it's a gift." They were so happy. That was on 22nd September. On the very day, I was given, a task to think just within seconds. "Would you like to be a soldier?" It came like a dream come true, because that has been my cry when at a time I was in school, even when I was young. I said yes, without even thinking about it. I said, "Yes, sir." In fact, I wanted to join when I just completed school. That was way back in 1990. They said, okay, fine. The AG, can you write the particulars of this lady? He took my particulars. They came back to Lusaka. Just after 2 days, I received a call from the commander, the colonel, to say, "Mulenga, your number has come. So report for training on Friday." I reported. And, mockery, because you are a woman. I never bothered what they were saying. In fact, those, comments gave me strength even to stand the ground. And after finishing that, I had a very nice pass out. I promised myself to say, "Father, in heaven, I want to save this army. I want to save the Zambian land, to save the people of Zambia, to obey my commanders and show them that real women are here. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud that I've had the support from the commanders. You know, being given even the name Mazembe, like when I heard about it, I was in the UN and the phone came and said, do you know the new name that you have? I said, I don't know. No, you are Mazembe, what? I said, fine, I'm Mazembe. In fact, I will tell you my slogan. I'm Mary Mulenga Mazembe, Kat Balos Africa, Zambia Nimba Sela, Amen Sort. That was what I did. I don't know how many places I've gathered in the army. You know, it has given me that heart of a buffalo. You know, a buffalo is an animal which when you offend, you are in trouble.
Warrant Officer Class 1 Bwali and Warrant Officer Class 2 Tembolizi can brag of being the first female drivers of having driven Zetros trucks on long-range patrols while on UN missions.
In 2017, I was out of the country for UN missions. There, I was given a Zetros, a truck which I was driving. We used sometimes to go for patrols, like long distance. At times, they used to doubt me, but I used to force myself to say, I joined Zambia Army as a driver, so there's nothing I'm going to do. It's my career, and I just have to push myself and be with you guys.
Military snipers, whose primary mission is to reconnaissance, are useful in a variety of missions on the battlefield. Because snipers are masters of stealth, they are perfectly suited to sneak behind enemy lines to provide command with information about the enemy's size, strength, and location. And Warrant Officer Class 2 Manda Mary, who was deployed as the only female sniper on a peacekeeping mission in Ka under the Zambian Battalion 4 between 2018 and 2019.
I'm proud of myself because I'm able to do what a man can do. Even me, I'm doing it. Moreover, I can even do better than other men. So I feel very proud. It's not an easy training. The training itself is tough. So I think that's why they don't want to join that career. We did Operation Kusekwila, where we were looking for the 3 Mylon brothers. That operation, it wasn't an easy operation, whereby you are looking for someone, you don't know that someone is using magic. So I can say it was very difficult. But though we managed, with those difficulties, we had to manage. The 3 Myron brothers, what used to happen was that if we were told by the locals to say, the Myron brothers have passed here, they are going this side, you try to follow their footsteps. What used to happen was that where the shoes are pointing that this is where they are going, then it was an opposite thing. If you know that they are going to this direction, then they are going to the other direction. So it was very, very difficult. Sometimes they can say, oh, the Myron brothers are there. When you just go there, you find them disappearing. They will just tell you to say, they were here. These they are their bags. But seeing them, it was very difficult. It was a challenging operation because it was in the forest and the place was hilly where there is no proper roads. Road network is very poor. We used foot patrol every day. We were using foot patrol. There's nothing like, no, we'll go them using a cruiser. There was nothing like that. We used to follow them just by foot. Yes.
Going through the file of Warrant Officer Class 1 Susan Bwalia and Warrant Officer Class 2 Mambwe Penlop, Command recognizes their exceptional efforts in the male-dominated driving of shukers. They at one point also emerged as best female AK-47 firers during a shooting competition in South Africa.
And a lot of courses. I've done gunnery, and in gunnery I'm a sniper. And I've fired those big tanks, mainly the T-59, that machine vehicle, the PT-76, and the BRDM. I've fired all those 3 vehicles of armor, and I'm the first woman to fire those big guns. So I'm very, very proud. I enjoy handling the weapon. Sometimes when we are firing, I feel like continuing the all day firing. I'm also very good at those weapons. So a gunner will remain a gunner.
I've been to both operations, local and UN operations.
A lot of injustice would be done if talented and passionate Staff Sergeants Kalumbi Esther and Banda Spiwe, 2 of the few young women dominating men's fields in the Zambia Army, go unnoticed. Staff Sergeant Kalumbi, a telecommunications and electronics engineer, she configures automated weapons.
I'm the first and only female telecommunications and electronics engineer in the history of the Army. Signals is important in the military because it is the way through which combat forces or arms pass their orders and instructions. Without communication, it would mean that that soldier who is deployed in an operation or somewhere overseas will not receive his medical supplies, or the soldiers that are deployed in different parts of the world or within the country would not coordinate properly. In the Department of Signals, there is 15-line communications. These are technicians who basically repair telephones and provide static communication to the different forces in the military. We also have 12 lines of communications. These are the most popular, and they are the ones that transmit or deal with the radios. They do the actual operation of the radio or radio operators. Then there's 13 maintenance troop, where I belong as an engineer. We repair military radios. We do installations of military radios and other electronic equipment.
Meanwhile, Warrant Officer Class 1 Ruth Nyambe was one of the first intake of women soldiers that joined the Zambia Army in 1974 as a nurse.
We were the first intake, and the reason why I joined the Army was when I was working, when I just completed my nursing, I was posted to Kawe General Hospital, and the doctor at Chindwin Barracks came and saw the matron at Kawe Central Hospital and requested if they could give them a midwife, second to them a midwife. And that's how I was seconded to the Army. And it was during the visits of the former commander, General Chinkuli, who found me working there. And so he said, I think we can also employ women in the Army. It looks so good. And that's how I joined the Army. And I delivered a lot of children, close to 400. Because of my life of prayer, the commanding officers used to send soldiers who were very loose, who were very bad, drunkards and so forth, to my department. They said, Ma'am, I think you can manage these soldiers. And I took them out of love, not to punish them or to do anything to them. Through that, a lot of them are chaplains in the Army.
Warrant Officer Class 1 Bulo Frida broke the record by becoming the first to be promoted to the rank of Warrant Officer Class 1 and the first female to be appointed as Ward Mistress, an appointment that was then dominated by male soldiers.
We are the first professionals. Those we found, they were not trained. Because we did about 3 years training, but them said they were only doing three months. So they were lay people. You can go there and tell them lies that I'm suffering from this, and they could understand, not knowing you are lying. So that was it. That was what it was. The training was 6 months. We did 6, almost 7 months. That is why I'm saying the training was equivalent to men. Whatever the soldiers were taught, there was like a 2nd battalion, they were taught like 25 regiment was another regiment.
Staff Sergeant Gladys Mbewe shares her experience of having driven former Army Commander Lieutenant General Nobi Simbe as a female driver.
I started driving Army Commander General Simbe 1994 to 1996. Ishakwetemo mwenso. Efuna lensha motoka yale butuka kwati mwaumi olensha. Nga napita apa nokupisha bale kupisha tushe mwaumi nangu mwana kashi. Sasa ngacha mwana kashi. So nokusaleka.
As if the army is not about brevity, courage and toughness, Warrant Officer Class 1 Anna Monde Mkelebai was enlisted in the Zambia Army in 1975. She is recognized for having demonstrated a motherly heart among the soldiers.
I was just a parent all the time, even when we were at the UN. These soldiers, they were giving me respect. It's our mother, it's our parent, because I was behaving like a parent. So anything they were calling me, Madam, come and see, this soldier is refusing to go to the hospital. Maybe when you talk to her, she will refuse. I did that in Sierra Leone. No, I go, why? What's the problem, Daddy? I assisted soldiers. They were calling me parent, it's Mama Zambat. Mama Zambat. A soldier, if he refuses to go to the hospital, they call me. Madam, a soldier, if he refuses to go to the hospital, come and talk to her, maybe to you. When I go there, I assist. Some soldier, we soldier, Madam, now that leave it. I washed her clothes, his clothes. A man, I washed his clothes. I went to the pot to bring food for him. I went there like a parent, my UN.
The bold step taken by the Zambia Army Command to recognize the contribution of women in the Army resonates well with the 2023 International Women's Day being celebrated under the theme Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality.
Ra